In this video, I'm going to give you 9 tips on how you can minimize the chance of getting seasick. I'm Gary Bembridge of Tips for Travelers. I've been on way over 50 cruises, and so far I have not been seasick by following these 9 tips. The first tip that I've got is do not psych yourself. Do not wind yourself up and believe that you're going to get seasick. Many people that get seasick have got themselves into such a frenzy that they keep thinking about it, they worry about it, and they almost bring it upon themselves. So every little motion, every little thing will make them think they're going to get seasick. So don't psych yourself up. Have a positive attitude and believe that you are not going to get seasick. That is the first and most important thing that you can do. The second thing that you can do is avoid times or avoid itineraries when it's most likely to be rough. So for example, crossing the Atlantic in the winter months, you are very likely to have very rough seas. I've crossed it a couple of times. We've had 50, 60-foot waves, and it's been very rough. Other things to avoid are things like the Bay of Biscay, sailing out of Southampton. That is renowned for being rough and causing a lot of people to be seasick. Another renowned area for rough seas is Drake's Passage, heading to Antarctica. Avoid cruises which have a lot of back-to-back sea days, because there is a chance if you're at sea a long time, that could make you feel seasick. You'll find that at the beginning and the end of a cruising season in any particular region, whether it's the Caribbean or the Mediterranean, that's when you like to have roughest seas. So how do you find itineraries or routes that are likely to have the smoothest seas? Now, of course, there's no guarantee that the sea is going to be smooth, but by choosing these times of the year, you're going to maximize the chance. So for example, the Mediterranean season, if you go right in the middle of the season, which is July, August time, you're likely to have the smoothest seas. Middle of the Caribbean season, so that's around about sort of Christmas time, you like to have the smoothest seas. Sailing right within the depths of the Norwegian fjords, sailing right within the depths of the Inside Passage in Alaska. Now, if you want to absolutely maximize your chance of not being seasick, then the one thing to do is to go on a river cruise. You're sailing up and down rivers, you're close to the banks at all times, and it is pretty much near impossible to be seasick on a river cruise. So once you've chosen the right itinerary, the third thing to focus on is the cabin. Now, the best cabin to choose on a cruise ship is midship, so in the center of the ship, and as low down as possible. Now, the reason for that is as the ship moves, it moves on an axis. So right in the middle is where there is least movement. Now, I've been on cruises, for example, where I've had a cabin midships and have had friends who are at the back of the ship, and we've been passing through fairly rough seas. We hadn't really seen very much in our cabin. We went to the back to see our friends, and we could barely stand up. The ship was moving so much. So a midships, load as down as possible is absolutely key. So the fourth thing is come prepared. And what I mean by that is come prepared with seasick tablets. Now, you can buy these at the pharmacist or the drugstore. You generally have to buy them behind the counter, so you have to ask the pharmacist for them. You don't need a prescription for them. These are really important. So what I recommend you do, aim to take them for the first sort of 48 hours of a cruise until you get your sea legs. It's a really good idea. It's kind of insurance policy, even if you don't need them. Now, if you're in the United States or Canada, the brand names to look out for are Dramamine or Bonine. Now, if you're in the UK or Europe, the product is called Sturgeon, or it's also known as Dunarone. Now, I've used both of those products, both Dramamine and Sturgeon, and they have been fantastic. You normally have to take them either the day before or even a couple of hours before you cruise. They're almost like an insurance policy. They may make you feel a little bit drowsy, so do look for sort of the non-drowsy versions, but certainly they are likely to give you the greatest chance of not being seasick. Most cruise lines will offer complimentary seasickness tablets, but it's worth bringing your own products so you know that you've taken them in advance and you've basically ensured that you are all fine. Now, my fifth tip is for people who don't want to take products that you ingest. Now, there are a couple of remedies and solutions that people use and have found very successful, which do not require you actually swallowing anything. So one of the more popular ones are patches, which you put behind your ear. You'll often see on a cruise ship a lot of people wearing little patches behind the ear. A lot of people swear by those. The other thing that people do are little wristbands, and these are little cloth wristbands. They have little metal discs which push on your wrist, and they provide a kind of an acupressure, and that's quite a known technique for trying to prevent seasickness. Certainly worth trying if you don't want to take any sort of pills. Now, my next tip is to actually use the product that seafarers have used for basically ever, and that's ginger. Ginger was used before pills were discovered, and ginger is really known to sort of settle seasickness, settle the stomach, and make you feel much better. So you'll find on many cruise ships they will actually offer bits of ginger around the ship, particularly in the bars or at the dining rooms. Eat ginger, drink ginger ale. My 7th tip is to avoid triggers, so things that can basically spark a feeling of nauseous. Now, these can be things like really strong smells, so really strong smelling food, drinking lots of alcohol. Another of those is reading. So if you're actually reading a book or looking at something on your phone or tablet, staring at one space is a really bad thing to do because it can make you feel motion sickness and seasick. So the thing to do is, if you are reading, is to read a little paragraph and look up. Basically, don't just keep staring down at one thing. So try and avoid those triggers. The next thing I recommend you do is make sure that you get outside into the fresh air as much as possible. So get outside on the decks, take in the fresh air. Also, very importantly, is take a look at the horizon. Try and look forward on the ship rather than to the side, but get out in the fresh air. It will make you feel much better. Now, if all of that fails, if you do start feeling sick and you are actually nauseous and throwing up, many of those other things that I've told you to do will not work. So what you do, get yourself down to the medical center and have a jab. They have an incredible injection which will pretty much knock you out for quite a few hours. You'll have a good old sleep, you'll wake up and you will feel fantastic. Now, the downside of that, it can be very expensive. It can be around about $100 to have that jab. I've been on cruises with people who've been extremely seasick, throwing up, feeling absolutely terrible. They've had the jab, had a good old sleep, and then are ready to party, eat, and have a great time. So that is your final fallback solution. If you've got any more tips, I'd love to hear them. Please leave a comment and let me know what you do to try and avoid seasickness and what's worked for you. Any great tips that you've got. The thing I'd really like you to do, of course, is to give the video a like, and please subscribe to the Tips for Travelers channel and get many more videos with travel inspiration, advice, and tips.